BTS is one of the most documented pop groups of the modern era, but being famous does not mean every important detail is widely understood. Behind the stadiums, chart records, UNICEF work, UN speeches, and global headlines, there are quieter facts that explain how 7 artists from South Korea became a cultural force without losing the tension, pressure, and discipline behind the image. Some details are hidden in credits. Some are buried in early decisions. Some only make sense when you connect the timeline properly. So, what did people miss while watching the biggest moments? And which facts reveal more about BTS than the headlines ever could? Number 10. The UN speech had a real campaign behind it, RM. When people talk about BTS at the United Nations, it often gets reduced to one clean headline. RM gave a speech, fans cried, and the world noticed. But the part many viewers miss is that this was not just a symbolic celebrity appearance. The speech was connected to a real UNICEF partnership that had already started before that moment. In 2017, BTS and Bigot Music joined UNICEF through the Love Myself campaign, tied to UNICEF's work against violence, abuse, bullying, and neglect affecting children and young people. By the time RM stood at the UN in New York in 2018, BTS were not walking into that room as decoration. They were representing a campaign with a stated purpose, a public message, and measurable global reach. UNICEF later reported that Love Myself had raised millions of dollars for its work and generated millions of online engagements across nearly every country. That context changes the whole scene. RM was not just speaking as the fluent English-speaking leader of BTS. He was carrying the group's long-running message about self-worth into a diplomatic space, usually reserved for governments, agencies, and policy language. The sharp part is this: BTS did not make the UN moment important by simply being famous. The moment mattered because fame had already been attached to a cause with structure behind it. And that is where the story gets deeper than a viral clip. Number 9. The mixtape that quietly changed the solo record, J-Hope. Before BTS members had the kind of solo rollouts that now dominate global charts, J-Hope already had a major solo moment that is easy to overlook because it happened in mixtape form. In March 2018, he released Hope World, a 7-track project led by Daydream. This was not promoted like a standard full album cycle, and that is exactly why the chart result matters. Hope World entered the Billboard 200 at number 63, then climbed to number 38 the next week. At that point, it was reported as the highest Billboard 200 position ever reached by a K-pop solo act. That detail gets buried because BTS's later records became so much larger, but in 2018 this was a serious signal. A BTS member could step outside the group name, release a personal project, and still pull measurable attention in the world's biggest music market. The project also showed something important about J-Hope's identity. The official tracklist moved through Hope World, P.O.P., Baseline, Airplane, and Blue Side, building a sound that was bright on the surface but rooted in ambition, pressure, and self-definition. The record was not just the cheerful member making cheerful music. It was a rapper and dancer using his own vocabulary before BTS's solo era had a clear blueprint. And the honest takeaway is simple. J-Hope's solo history did not start when the industry finally looked ready for it. It had already been charting. Number 8. The producer credit that won its own award, Suga. Suga is usually introduced as a BTS rapper, songwriter, and producer. But one detail from 2017 shows how far his work was already moving outside the group. That year, singer Saran released Wine, a track featuring Changma and produced by Suga. On paper, that might sound like a side credit. In reality, it became one of the clearest early signs that Suga's production identity could stand on its own in the Korean music industry. At the 2017 Melon Music Awards, Melon's official winner list credited Suga for the Hot Trend Award, while Wine also appeared as the R&B/soul category winner with the production credit clearly attached to his name. That matters because award pages do not run on fan interpretation. They preserve what the industry chose to recognize. The fact was not just that a BTS member helped make a song. The sharper fact is that his behind-the-scenes role became visible enough to be awarded in a major Korean music platform's year-end ceremony. Saran later described Wine as one of her most proud and meaningful releases, which gives the song a second layer beyond the chart and award record. For BTS history, this is easy to miss because 2017 was packed with massive group milestones. But underneath that noise, Suga was building a producer resume that did not need a spotlight to be real. Sometimes the quiet credit tells you more than the loudest stage. Number 7. The farewell single was built with Coldplay, Jimin. The Astronaut is often remembered as Jin's emotional solo single before military service, but the factual details around it make the release more specific than a normal goodbye song. The track was released on October 28, 2022, and Yonhap reported that Coldplay participated as co-writers of the music and lyrics while also playing on the recording. That matters because this was not just a famous name feature placed on a BTS member's solo release. It came after BTS and Coldplay had already worked together on My Universe, and it placed Jin inside a pop-rock sound that matched his vocal color more naturally than many people expected. The first live performance was even more unusual. Instead of debuting the song on a Korean music show or a standard promotional stage, Jin performed it with Coldplay at their concert in Buenos Aires, Argentina, on the same release day. The context is important. This was happening just before Jin became the first BTS member to begin mandatory military service, turning the song into a public pause point in BTS's timeline. But the honest fact is not that the song was sad or legendary. The stronger fact is simpler. Jin's first official solo single was built through a real international collaboration, performed for the first time on a Coldplay stadium stage, and released at one of the most sensitive transition points in BTS history. It was not just a solo debut. It was a carefully documented handoff between presence and absence. Number 6. The solo album was a full visual project. V's Layover is often remembered for its calm R&B sound, but the part that deserves closer attention is how unusually complete the project was as a visual album experience. Released on September 8, 2023, Layover contained 6 tracks: Rainy Days, Blue, Love Me Again, Slow Dancing, For Us, plus a piano version of Slow Dancing. That already tells you the album was not built around a long track list or a loud concept. It was narrow, controlled, and focused. The more interesting detail is that music videos were released for all 5 main songs, not just the title track. That gave the album a different structure from a normal K-pop solo release, where one main video usually carries the campaign. Yonhap also reported that Min Hee-jin, CEO of ADOR, was responsible for the entire production process, including music, choreography, design, and promotion. That is important context because Layover was not only about V stepping out as a vocalist. It was also about shaping Kim Taehyun's solo identity through mood, pacing, styling, and visual language. V said he was under pressure because he was the last BTS member to release a solo album after the others had already completed successful solo activities. That line makes the project feel less casual than the sound suggests. Layover sounds relaxed, but its construction was deliberate. And that is the hidden tension. V's quietest solo era may have been one of the most carefully assembled. Number 5. The Hot 100 record was bigger than a solo win. Jimin. Jimin's Like Crazy is often treated as a simple chart headline, but the real fact is more specific. In 2023, Like Crazy debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, making Jimin the first South Korean solo artist to top that chart. That is not just a BTS-related achievement. It is a music industry milestone, because the Hot 100 measures the most popular songs in the United States using major consumption signals like sales, streaming, and radio airplay. The song came from Face, Jimin's first official solo album, released on March 24, 2023. Bigot's official album page lists 6 tracks: Face Off, Interlude, Dive, Like Crazy, Alone, Set Me Free PT2, and the English version of Like Crazy. The structure matters. This was not just one single floating alone for chart impact. It was part of a compact solo project built around Jimin's own voice, with Set Me Free PT2 released first and Like Crazy positioned as the main track. Bigot described Like Crazy as synth pop, using strong synth and drum sounds against Jimin's emotional vocal tone. So the hidden point is not only that Jimin reached #1, it is that a Korean soloist reached the top of the main US singles chart with a track tied to a personal album identity, not a random crossover formula. The number was loud, but the context is what makes it last. Number 4. The debut single was already a chart event. Jungkook. Jungkook's 7 is easy to remember as a massive solo hit, but the part that gets lost is how specific the record actually was. Released on July 14, 2023, 7 was reported as Jungkook's first official solo release, featuring American rapper Latto. Days later, it debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, making Jungkook the second BTS member to top that chart as a solo artist after Jimin's Like Crazy. That already places the song inside BTS history, but the sharper detail is bigger than internal group comparison. Korea.net reported that 7 became only the 68th song to debut at #1 on the Hot 100 since the chart began in 1958. That means the record was not simply a popular K-pop solo. It entered a rare chart category that only a small group of songs had reached across decades of US music history. Then the global data pushed the story further. 7 also topped both the Billboard Global 200 and Global Excal US charts for 4 straight weeks, which Billboard described, through Korea.net's report, as a first for a K-pop act. That matters because it shows the song was not only driven by one country's market, it had broad international weight. The honest takeaway is this: Jungkook did not begin his official solo era by quietly testing the waters. His first official solo single arrived already carrying global-scale evidence. Number 3. The Grammy moment started with one English single, BTS. BTS's Grammy history is often remembered through the performance clips, the red carpet, and the question of whether they won. But the overlooked fact is that their first Grammy nomination came through one very specific song, Dynamite. At the 63rd Annual Grammy Awards, BTS were nominated for Best Pop Duo/Group Performance for Dynamite, and the Recording Academy described it as the first Grammy nomination for a K-pop act. That detail matters because BTS had already achieved major global success before this point. They had filled stadiums, reached #1 on the Billboard 200, spoken at the United Nations, and built one of the most active fan communities in music. But Grammy recognition works through a different industry structure, based on Recording Academy voting rather than fan voting or chart position alone. Dynamite became the track that opened that specific door. It was also BTS's first song performed fully in English, released in 2020 during a year when the group said they wanted to bring energy to listeners during a difficult global period. The nomination did not erase the years of Korean language work that built their reputation. It sat on top of that foundation. That is the important distinction. Dynamite was not the beginning of BTS's global relevance, but it became the song that translated that relevance into Grammy history. And the sharper question is this: how many people remember the nomination, but forget the long road that made it possible? Number 2. The diplomatic title was not just symbolic. BTS appearing at the United Nations already sounds like a major pop culture moment, but one detail is often flattened in retellings. In 2021, they were formally appointed by South Korean President Moon Jae-in as Special Presidential Envoy for Future Generations and Culture. That title was not fan language, media exaggeration, or a nickname created after the fact. It came through an official government appointment. Koreanet reported that the move was tied to public diplomacy, with the goal of expanding South Korea's diplomatic reach through figures who are already active on the world stage. In September 2021, President Moon gave BTS their certificates of appointment at Cheongwa before their trip connected to the 76th United Nations General Assembly. Yonhap reported that the group was expected to attend the UN session in New York and participate with President Moon in the Sustainable Development Goals moment. That context matters because it places BTS in a very different category from celebrities simply invited to perform or speak. They were being used as part of South Korea's soft power strategy, not as decoration, but as cultural representatives with an official role. The fact is not that BTS became politicians. They did not. The fact is sharper. A pop group became formal public diplomacy envoys for their country at a UN-level moment. And once you understand that, their global influence looks less like a viral accident and more like something governments had already started to measure. Number 1. The Beatles comparison was about albums, not hype. BTS being compared to the Beatles sounds like the kind of sentence people throw around too easily, so the important thing is to be precise. This was not about claiming BTS and the Beatles had the same history, sound, cultural role, or era. The verified fact was much narrower, and that is what makes it stronger. In April 2019, Map of the Soul. Persona debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200. That gave BTS 3 number 1 albums on the chart in less than a year, after Love Yourself. Terror and Love Yourself. Answer had already reached the top in 2018. Billboard reported that BTS became the first group since the Beatles to earn 3 Billboard 200 number 1 albums in such a short stretch. That is a chart fact, not a fan slogan. It also matters because the albums were not identical products pushed through the same moment. They came from a Korean group operating in a global market where language, distribution, radio behavior, and industry access were not automatically built in their favor. The comparison becomes more honest when you keep it inside its real boundary. Not BTS or the Beatles, but BTS reached a Billboard album chart pace no group had matched since the Beatles. That difference matters. It protects the fact from becoming exaggeration. And it shows why BTS's rise was not just loud online. It had measurable weight in one of music's most watched commercial charts. Added value. Across these 10 facts, the bigger pattern is clear. BTS did not become globally important through one viral moment. Their story connects diplomacy, UNICEF work, Grammy recognition, Billboard records, solo breakthroughs, producer credits, and carefully built personal identities. RM carried a campaign message into the UN. J-Hope proved early solo reach with Hope World. Suga's production work won industry recognition outside BTS. Jimin turned a farewell release into a documented Coldplay collaboration. V-shaped Layover as a full visual project. Jimin and Jungkook moved Korean solo success into historic US chart territory. And BTS as a group crossed from pop success into public diplomacy, Grammy history, and album chart records. The real lesson is simple. The most interesting BTS facts are not the loudest ones. They are the ones that survive when you remove the hype and check the record. This is VISPATCH. Stay sharp, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next story.